Following the death of a boxer from Britain called Mike Towell, there have been a lot of calls for boxing to be banned. A lot of doctors, medical associations are calling for this to be banned. It's been on Sky News quite a lot where boxers are really pushing for the sport to be banned within the United Kingdom. It's interesting. It's very interesting, and I am an advocate for boxing, and I support boxing, and I love boxing. Okay, and the facts remain, right, that let's just say it like this. My background is economics, and I've studied statistics, and I'm quite into econometrics, so I look at facts and figures, okay? Doctors look at case studies and they look at situations and scenarios, okay? Now, statistically, okay, should you not look, right, at the amount of deaths and the amount of injuries caused by boxing in comparison to other sports? Now, the end thing is this, okay? The bottom line is this, that you are more likely to suffer brain injury from horse racing than you are from boxing. So there is no talk about boxing is more dangerous than horse racing, because horse racing, you're more likely to get a head injury. There are many sports which are more dangerous than boxing, because statistically speaking, boxing has had in the UK, I think, about 3 deaths in the past 22 years, which really statistically isn't a lot. Am I saying that them lives don't matter? Of course them lives matter. But you could die in football from getting kicked in the head. I mean, it's a physical sport. Rugby, is a very physical sport. These are physical sports, and that's the whole thing about sports. I mean, in cricket, you could get hit by a cricket ball on your head, hard cocky ball. Is that not dangerous? Okay, now the doctor's argument, right, today, what I saw on Sky News, was that in boxing, the aim of boxing is to render your opponent senseless. That is not the goal of boxing. See, because the doctor doesn't know. That's not the goal of boxing, okay? And people looking on the outside in have this misconception of boxing, that boxing is just a very brutal sport and it's to just knock the other opponent out and that's it. But that is not true. That is not true. If that was true, why is it that boxing carries the most significant personalities in the history of sports? Okay, you name me a person from another sport like Muhammad Ali. You name me a person in sports today with the personality as colourful and as controversial as Tyson Fury. You name me a personality in another sport as vibrant as Floyd Mayweather Jr. You name me people like Manny Pacquiao. Name me another sport which has figures like this. You will not get it in football. You will not get it in golf. You will not get personalities like you get in boxing. Boxing is the ultimate sport which you've got to be the best in terms of your mind, in terms of your skill, in terms of your physicality. You've got to be the ultimate. And if you're not, someone else will be better, because it's a one-on-one sport, okay? Now, back to the argument, right? If another sport, okay, boxing seems more brutal, but it is brutal at the heart of it. Boxing is very brutal at the heart of it. But you don't just get fighters like Ruslan Provodnikov, like Lucas Matisse, like Iron Mike Tyson. You don't get just fighters like that. You get boxers as well, like Floyd Mayweather Jr., like boxers like, even we could say someone like Manny Pacquiao in his day, a back foot fighter, a very clever fighter. Even someone like Amir Khan today, okay? You get boxers in the sport who like to move, who like to use their skill, use their speed, and outpoint the opponent. We get lots of boxers, Andre Ward, okay? We get lots of boxers who are there to outpoint their opponent, not to knock the opponent out, okay? So that's, first of all, that is the first misconception he's got about, that this doctor has had about boxing, that the aim is to... You know what it is? It's funny because his argument... What was his argument? His argument is a very stupid and ignorant argument that in boxing, right, the aim is to knock your opponent senseless. It's not, because the actual aim of boxing is to hit and not get hit. There's a big difference between knocking your opponent senseless, and that's the aim of a game, right, and being hit and not being hit, okay? When you put that phrase, the phrase that I just put, what is the actual definition of boxing, right, and what you're meant to do, all of a sudden you have a totally different dynamic. You have skill involved, you have wit involved, you have the physical aspect of it, you know? So in that respect, right, I can't go with what this doctor is saying. However, having said this, right, in addition to this, we have to take into account the negatives of boxing. Boxing is a sport at the heart where people do get hurt, and obviously, recently this boxer has died. There have been multiple deaths in the ring before, and the aim is to kill the other person. But should we just look at what something appears to be, when statistically it's not that? Statistically, boxing hasn't killed that many people. There are much more dangerous sports where there's much more injuries. There's so many more sports which cause more injuries and are more dangerous to your health than boxing. Boxing just happens to have a conception where, people die in the ring. And I mean, if someone died from falling off a horse, or if someone died playing rugby because his neck got snapped, it wouldn't be considered as bad as someone dying in the ring who had a fight and died in the ring, because it just seems worse. The entire dynamic of it is a lot worse. I think that boxing, however, needs to change. I don't think it should be banned. I definitely do not think it should be banned, because it gives an opportunity for people to come from the slums, to come from the worst areas in America, to come from Harlem, to come from Brooklyn, New York, or to come from the worst areas in, I don't know, Cuba or the Philippines. To take someone like Manny Pacquiao, who used to sleep outside, okay, in the rain, waiting for the gym to open, whose family ate his dog, who had severe poverty, that really bad poverty, to go from that to potentially being the president of a country. I haven't heard of another sport do this. I haven't heard of any sport where you have two twin brothers in Vladimir and Vitaly Klitschko, who are at such a significant peak in their political careers, especially Vitaly. Obviously, he's really reached high heights in terms of his political career. Then you have people like Muhammad Ali. You have even Amir Khan in Pakistan is heavily involved meeting presidents, and Vijender Singh's meeting people, presidents, the president of India. You have, I'm just nothing known, people aren't coming to my mind, but boxers are them sorts of people who really go on to do stuff outside the ring as well. And you just don't get that in other sports. And I think that is because boxing develops personalities, develops people, it builds character, it builds a person into being the strongest version of themselves. Because you can't go into boxing with the mindset of, I'm just gonna be a good team player, and you can't do that, because the other person opposite you has been training his ass off, and he will expose you. And it's that sort of sport. It's a one-on-one sport where it tests you brutally in terms of your mental strength, in terms of your physical strength, all the way to the very end. And if the other person digs deeper than you, then he will win the fight. And it's that sort of sport. But leave your comments in the section below. Please make sure you subscribe. Let me know what you think about boxing being banned. Obviously, this is a boxing channel, but give me your pros and cons. I do think rules need to change. I think that we need to bring back, for me, although this death has nothing to do with this, I think that weight divisions in boxing needs to be, and weighing in the night before and hydrating up, I think this needs to alter. I think that there should be some sort of regulation which takes place in boxing, where we can't have mismatches, where fighters are only allowed to rehydrate up to a certain limit. These are the things that I think need to be brought into boxing to make it safer, and more competitive. However, if you look at the deaths which have happened recently, they've happened on with fighters who are fighting at a lower level. Very rarely have we seen of recent high level, high profile. Excuse me, it's getting late. Have you seen high profile fights where a fighter dies, or the health gets where you have problems? But then the thing is this, right? How do we know cause and effect as well? I mean, if a fighter gets ill and he has brain problems later on, yeah, you could say it's boxing. But I mean, would that person in boxing have got, I don't know, Parkinson's disease anyway? You know, would Muhammad Ali have struggled before he died from them effects that he had? Who knows? You know what I mean? If one in every, I don't know, 100 people, right, have Parkinson's disease, I don't know what the statistics are, one in every 500, I don't know. Look how many people there are boxing. Okay, you're obviously going to get people who have Parkinson's, but when that person gets Parkinson's disease, you're going to blame it on the sport of boxing, when in reality it might have absolutely nothing to do with it. You know, so leave your comment section below, subscribe as always. I'm not going to be totally ignorant. I do think that these blows to the head do damage people, but it's a choice that the fighters make, and I think it develops people into the best version of themselves. Boxing does. I think it's that sort of sport. Comment section below, subscribe as always. In a bit, guys.